Welcome back, Shalligators. It's the post-holiday come down, right? The post-holiday, these pants are fitting a little tight. Those dryers, mom's dryer really shrunk it. The post-holiday, trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the rest of our life. The post-holiday, perhaps looking at our credit card bill. You know what? Let's ignore it. Let's ignore all of that. This week, hopefully, we just have some time to rest and relax and decompress, and then in a few days, face the year ahead. Because look, this is like a big time for me. You know, people always say, this week of the year, do nothing. I do a lot this year because, you know, I'm like your big sis. I'm like your cheerleader over here. So I really am excited to roll out a new challenge we have coming for the beginning of the year and tell you guys about some other stuff. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys, my mindset coach, Laura St. John, is doing a webinar this New Year's Eve on how to create a vision board that works. Vision board, it's a great manifestation tool. I love them. Mindset and manifestation, it's not a magic wand. It's figure your life you're driving. You're driving all the time. Are you following any sort of useful path, or are you just kind of driving in circles? And her coaching and just mindset lessons in general, even if it's not through her, they give you like a path to follow of how to use your thoughts and align them in a way that's working for you, you know. And if this is exactly the right time to shift our thinking and our positivity and just our energy into stuff that's useful. It's the end of the year. Let's turn and burn. Let's go into this new year firing. Today, I want to maybe close the year talking about our favorite, Kim Kardashian, who we learned so much from, not because she does everything right, God knows, but because there is just an almost endless treasure trove of things to learn from her. But I don't know if there is today. This video really got away from me early on. I'm going to go over some of the stuff she was talking about in a recent interview with Angie Martinez. And I really like Angie's interview style. She doesn't try to be like, buddy, we're BFF. She's like in there asking the questions, hard-hitting, eye contact. I'm like, yes, this is how a journalist approaches a subject, not like, Kim, are we BFFs? It's like, no, you're not. And you don't need to play that part. Just get into it. So we're going to look at some of what Kim said about Kanye, the kids, and Balenciaga, and cancel culture. And just kind of talk about it. Maybe some lessons will spring up. Maybe it'll be a rant. Maybe I'm asking you guys for some things. But before we jump into it, we are going to be rolling out a new challenge, a Shallon challenge for the new year. But there was one I was thinking about, and I filmed it actually like a week or two ago when it was fresh in my mind, because we've recently had elections and, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the world between Russia and Iran and the border and blah, blah, blah. And especially at the holidays, I personally can feel very, very overwhelmed and kind of, I think in a way we're just more sensitive to the sadness in the world. I mean, we're more sensitive to the beauty and the majesty of Christmas and the holidays and the togetherness. But the underside of that coin is always thinking about people who don't have things. And so I thought, okay, I have a little baby challenge for some of you guys if you want to get more involved. So I filmed it a few weeks ago. It's not an ad. I just filmed it while I was in my head. Take a look. Tell me in the comments what you think. I'll see you in a minute. Okay.
Hey there, Shalligators. Okay, so I feel like we've been on this channel dipping our toe into like more debatable topics, which I really like because I love it when we can talk about things that are, I mean, not political, but just like civic minded, just issues, you know, and talk about them in a way that isn't political. So I have a challenge for you. It's actually to get political. I'm sorry. Okay, hear me out. So the midterm elections were recently, and I don't know about you, but I got like very into it. Like I read a lot about the issues going on in Montana because I do feel like as an outsider here, it's my duty to like uphold this way of life and not come in here and like make everything into an acai bowl place, you know? But after the elections are over, and I know you probably feel this way, it's like you feel completely removed from the whole political process, like in your town or your country. It's like, we needed you for one day and now get the hell out of our way. So here's my challenge. I want us to keep this sort of like patriotic energy going. And I want us to go to a city council meeting. Does this sound crazy? I do, because I want us to get more involved in our lives and in local politics. We sit around here and we talk about how to have like personal agency in our life and our work and our relationships. Like, I think we're at the point now where we can take this further and take it like to the streets, like take it to the streets, literally talk to like the street commissioner in your town. And so this is my challenge. Go to a city council meeting once this season, doesn't even have to be once this month, once this season, once this winter. Go and sit and listen to one. Like, what happens there? Because I'll tell you something. I did. And you know what I learned? I could run circles around these people. And so I'm really thinking about running for office. Like in the next few years, that is like that's a horizon goal for me, is to run for office here in Montana, because it's not that I like power. It's that not control. It's that I like making an impact, and we can make an impact in our own lives, but can you imagine like making one in your town or your city or your state? Like, that's crazy. And I just want us to think a little bit bigger. So that's your challenge. Because listen, women get pushed out. We know this. We got to take over the world. Because look, Gen Z is getting the memo on this, and I love you guys. Gen Z turned out a record number of voters. It was 30%. And think about like if that was more. And they outpaced boomers voting, because thank God, boomers voting in droves, and they've got nothing else to do all day, is like someone coming over to your house, insisting on picking the movie you watch, and then leaving 10 minutes into it. Okay? Why do they get to decide the future? They're not the future. We are. Because I'm 22 years old. Anyway, moving on. We got to get involved. Because otherwise we're always going to be beholden to like old men. And no. So, okay, that's your challenge. Let me know if you have gone to city council meetings or anything local like that. I'll see you later, alligators.
We're back. Do you guys think you can do that? Like maybe get a little politically involved? I think it would just be really interesting. Like I think it's one of those things we don't even think about, like, oh, like local politics, but like even just scratching the surface a little, I think would really be so illuminating just how things work, And who should be in charge of the world? Us. Okay, anyway, let's talk about Kim K. So Kim recently went on Angie Martinez's show, and can we talk about how odd? Kim looked weird to me. So this whole family apparently is on Ozempic, and if you guys watched my last video, it was on my winter diet tips, my holiday eating diet tips, and an update on my own weight loss journey, because I've been on Ozempic now for like a year and a few months, and I am like kind of weaning myself off of it. Oh, and for people asking who watched that video, I'm 5'5". I used to think I was 5'4". Well, I was 5'4", and then I got measured again recently, and I'm a little over 5'5". Puberty is here. I'm so excited. So I'm 5'5" and like 122 pounds. God knows what I am after all this holiday eating, but I digress. So my point is, Kim looks weird, and I think that whole family is on Ozempic or like a drug like Ozempic. Kylie losing that baby weight, girl. And, Chloe's all cut up, and Kim looks really like gaunt with these big lips. I don't know. For the first time, I'm like, Kim looks really surgerized to me. And I have always thought she's pretty natural, but she still looks good. I was like, she looks very different in these photos or in this interview. And Angie Martinez jumped right in and asked her about co-parenting with Kanye, and Kim was like, it's fucking hard. Like, it's hard. And she talked a lot about how she shields her children from like hearing anything that their dad is doing, and Angie Martinez is like, how do you do that? She's like, well, truly, I don't know, because like doesn't North have a TikTok account? Can I just say that North seems like a bit of a handful, shall we say? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, North has TikTok, kids on the playground, and Kim's like, well, I'm best friends with a lot of their teachers, so I know what goes on at recess. I know what goes on. And it got me to thinking like about the concept of protecting children. I don't have kids, but I was a kid. I have been a child before, as I think many of you have. And my mother was very frequently trying to protect me from the reality of, my father. And, do you think that that's a good idea? I don't know. Like, I think on one hand, like, you don't want to like talk trash about your child's father to them. It makes them feel, I mean, we know what that can do. That's the most, truly, I think one of the most destructive things you can. I think it's also incredibly like, there's not even words for how destructive it is to keep a child from a parent, a healthy parent who wants to be in their life because you're wounded that guy dumped you or whatever. And we see this all the time in custody and divorce. I'm sure you guys have experienced this. And like, I can't imagine keeping a kid away from someone who isn't bad. They just don't love me back, you know? And like so much of the time, that's what it comes down to. It's like, he doesn't want to fuck you anymore. He married a secretary. He might be a shitty boyfriend, but he is still maybe a good dad. But can you make the argument that like, well, if a man is disrespectful towards his baby mom, no, he actually isn't a good dad because he should be respecting that mom first and foremost and her sacrifices. You can, you know, these are deep waters and that again, I'm not wading into because no, thank you. But I do think it's interesting. And, you know, so much of what the Kardashians do, they always kind of pin it on their kids. It's for my kids. It's for my kids. I'm protecting people for my kids. And I think we've talked before about, I think that fucks kids up in a way because these kids are clearly going to have access to all these things Kim is saying. And I'm sure, you know, when they get older, they're going to be like, why did you even let me hang out with a man who is posting swastikas on Twitter? Maybe they'll say that. I don't know. Maybe not. You know, or like, why was this volatile man even in our life? You know, this might all backfire on the Kardashians. Like, Khloe's daughter True might be like, you had a second baby with him? Why? You know, once we all have become adults and we look at our parents no longer as like mom and dad, like that's all they are. We look at them as actual adults like we are, and we look at their behavior through the lens of other adults. It's like, what? I also think it's important to remember that like other adults, people are mostly doing the best they can, but you have to wonder, like, is this going to kind of blow up in Kim's face? And should parents pin stuff like that on the kids? Like, I was doing this for you. Like, oh, thank you. You're doing this for me. You were keeping Tristan Thompson around. Third trimester Thompson, the Groupon penis of Calabasas. For me? No. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And at what point does protecting a child, you know, and not talking trash about their dad or whatever, veer into gaslighting? Have you experienced that? Like I said, this video might not be full of lessons. It's more of like a discussion video. But, you know, my mom is the best. I'm obsessed with her. And my father didn't love me. And he never really veered from that. He stayed very on brand his entire life. And my mom, like growing up, she would tell me, like, he loves you enough to stay away from you. He knows he's chaotic. He knows he's not a fit parent. He loves you enough to stay away from you. And that just didn't make sense to me. I mean, even as a child, I was like, because my mother loved me and she was around. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my dog loved me and they wanted to be around me. And yet I'm supposed to look at this set of behaviors from this man and be like, but that's also love. It's the opposite of how all these people and creatures behave. But this is somehow also love. What? And I remember finally saying to her in so many words, like, stop normalizing his behavior as love. Please don't tell me that that's the definition of love, because it's not. And I'm fortunate enough that I see what love is. And I need to understand that his behavior isn't that. It's literally apathy. He doesn't care. And of course, that's like the most deep rejection a human can feel, is a rejection by a parent. But I'm also cognizant enough to know, like, it has nothing to do with me. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. You know, that's always going to hurt. But I can default to my logic and be like, there is no coolness I could have had. There's no person I could have been that would have changed his feelings towards me. None. Because I am really cool and I am very successful and I've always been really cool and funny. Like, if a parent couldn't love me, they can't love fucking anybody, you know? And again, that doesn't make it like all better, but it does. It just kind of is what it is. It like takes the onus off me. So I wonder if when our parents are protecting us from something, again, it veers into that gaslighting where it's like, what you're seeing is not, no, that's not your father rejecting you. That's love. And I mean, that comes from a good place. It really does, obviously. Who wants to tell a child, oh, no, your dad doesn't love you? Not at all. Doesn't care. You're not going to tell that. You wouldn't tell that to anyone. But I think, sometimes we have to take a step back. And maybe this is a lesson. Like, are we being gaslit by people in our life? But it's coming from a good place. Think about what our friends will tell us about a fuckboy. He really does love you. He's just not in the space. No, girl, he doesn't. Like, he doesn't love you. Because hold on. I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends recently. Like, I know he likes you deep down. Like, we find ourselves saying that to our friends, and my friends trying to break up with someone and blah, blah, blah. And we hear it and we say it. It's like, what is love? Well, it's a feeling. Is it? Or is it a manifestation of a feeling into a specific set of behaviors? What if we could shift out of, it's a feeling. I don't fucking know what a feeling looks like. Like, I can't quantify someone else's feelings unless there's behaviors attached to it. Someone could stand there being like, I love you so much. Like, I love you more than anyone in the world. Prove it. Prove it. Talk is so cheap. Costs nothing. Blah, 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 blah. Hopefully in this new year, you want to start our little challenge? Great. We're going to have a bunch of challenges. What if we can move out of words and into actions? What if this is something we can prioritize in the new year? Actions. Actions, actions, actions. I am currently dealing with the friend group here. So I have my core group of friends, and then I have a larger group. I'm ready to scratch their fucking eyes out because the lack of manners, the lack of RSVPing and sticking to an RSVP, like, there's just been a lot of little slights that are making me realize it's time to take out the trash. All right? And these are people who are like, oh, it's so good to see you. Can we hang out more? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You say you like me. You say you like hanging out with me. Prove it. Show up to the things I throw. Ask me to do things. Text me and ask how I am. Like, put all of this feeling into an action. And if you don't know how to do that, whether you're a friend, you're a parent, you're a boyfriend, whatever, then you are my inferior. I am an eagle. You are a pigeon. How often do you see those two creatures hanging out? One will actually eat the other. It's not their preferred meal. It's like a drive-through snack, but they'll gobble their ass up. I am so tired of making excuses for my inferiors. I believe my father was my inferior. Why? Because he couldn't put feelings into action. He couldn't put potential into action. It's a whole other story. But like, he was a very smart, educated, brilliant man, did really nothing with his life. To me, that's an inferior. Friends who say that you're important to them, can't back it up, you're my inferior. People who are threatened by me, inferior. Boys who also say that they care but don't put it in action, inferior. Like, suddenly, what is this feeling? Oh, it's the great stretching of eagle wings. What is this? What is this little twitch? Oh, it's the curvature of my beak, meant to rip flesh from bone. These aren't nails. They're not made of acrylic. They're fucking talons. And when I see someone self-select inferiority based on their inability to bridge concepts and feelings with behaviors, suddenly, I've got a taste for pigeon. Okay? I'm no longer dulling myself down, dialing down what I need, what I want, who I am, to appease people who are below me, who are beneath me. And listen. People can say, it's not about above and below. Well, it is in the animal kingdom, and guess what the fuck we are? We're animals. Okay? Even within the animal kingdom, within the same species, wolves, There's a pack leader and then there's followers, right? And you want to act like that's not the case in the human system, the most complicated system in the animal kingdom? No. No. To me, that's what inferior people say to gaslight the eagles. No, I too am an eagle. I mean, is that a cigarette butt in the ground? Huh, I gotta have it. You're an eagle. They're a pigeon. Don't get it twisted. So Kim also brought up the Balenciaga scandal, pronouncing it Balenciaga. Every single consonant and vowel in Balenciaga. Balenciaga. You've been to Italy enough. Just try it. Just sound it out. Just a little bit. The scandal there with the BDSM bears and blah, blah, blah. And how, she said she was like very taken aback that people expected her to say anything about it. And when she said it, I was like, oh, I get where she's coming from. She's like, I'm not in the campaign. I'm not a creative director, basically. What? Why is this on her to talk about? I get that. But also Kim, you've worn nothing but Balenciaga for 2 years, a year and a half, every time you went out, every scene on the show, front row, I feel like half of their episodes of this season of the Kardashians had to do with Balenciaga. She's in Milan walking in the show and getting fitted and It's like, girl, don't act like you don't know why people associate you with the brand. It's all you wear. I don't see her in Gucci or Chanel or anything. God forbid she ever promoted up and coming designers. God fucking forbid she discovered the next Laquan Smith or something like that. Nope. I mean, it was cool that she was into Balenciaga at first, but then it's to me, it seemed very, I know how this is going to sound. It seemed a little beggar's mentality. Oh my God, they're the only fashion house that will pay attention to you. So you're going to wear them head to toe and talk about them and put them in your show. She just seemed overly grateful for the attention. It's ugh, girl, you really can't find anyone else who wants to dress you? And if you can, maybe mix it up a little. Just diversify the portfolio. I don't know. It's funny, the Kardashians, it's for all the power that they have and all the ability to try new things and branch out, they don't. Where do they travel? Where do they travel? Have they they've got these jets. It's where do y'all even go? Why does Kylie have a jet? She literally doesn't leave her house. Calabasas, her neighborhood. Remember when Kendall wanted her to go to Vegas? She's like, yeah, I just, fun is fun. And then just, I've got 2 kids and mommy. So, yeah. I mean, I lose IQ points when I listen to her. I'm like, Kylie, what are you even trying to say right now? And yeah, why do you have a jet? You don't go anywhere. Ever. Unless she's scaling Machu Picchu and not documenting it. But I don't know. The family, they're just getting a little one note. I would just mix it up. You have the money, you have the time, you have the influence, you have the connections. I don't know. Branch out a little. But she was talking about the Balenciaga thing, and she's like, I felt no matter if would she say something if people didn't hear exactly what they wanted to hear, I'm canceled. Who's outside my house? I'm fucking canceled. It's over. And, I get that. And I think, of course, Kim is dealing with that concept on a macro level. And at first glance, it might be hard to relate to that. It's no one's asking me to issue statements on fashion houses. But think about it on the micro. Do you know someone in your life where it's there's a script and you don't have it? And they're checking your line. It's no, you missed that line. The line was supposed to be, oh my God, Kristen, you look so good in those leather leggings. You missed that line. Do you ever feel like that? That there are people who have a role, they've cast you in a role and you don't know about it. And you have a script and you've not read it, but you definitely are going to hear when you miss your mark. I think this is happening a lot, and I want to talk about this because we're moving into a new year. This is a time for rebirth. It's a time to re-strategize, change, grow. And I really, sometimes we get held back from doing that because we literally think it's cliche. Like I've heard people say that. It's like, oh, it's just so cliche to start the diet like the first of the year. Who cares? First of all, who's clocking you that hard? Nobody. Like it's you against the music. Nobody cares when you start something. They're probably just glad that you start. Like that's great. It's a new year. Why not? And if anything, start it now. Like I'm going down right now, right after I film this, to hire a personal trainer because I want to get a few sessions in before the new year just to feel like I'm just a little ahead of the curve. Even if it's one day, I'll take it. It's one day. But because this is a time of flux and change and pulling back and analysis, that is a very dangerous thing for some people in our lives who don't want us to change. Not necessarily from a nefarious place, always. Sometimes they're not in touch with that. They're not like, ha ha, Megan can't change, I'll kill her. Like they don't know what role you have until you go off script. And that's like, because what are human beings? We're risk machines, right? We talk about this all the time. We want to know, we want stability. I want to know that when I am heartbroken, I call Abby and she's going to tell me vaguely XYZ to make me feel better. Girl, you're beautiful. You deserve better. Here's a non-scorched earth text to send to your boyfriend. But if they go off script, it's like, I think you should ram his car with your Silverado. You do? Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. And I think you should send him 10 nudes. It disrupts our risk machine, And so you might feel some pushback from people around this time. And so one thing I kind of want you to do, and this is, I'm not just trying to promo it, but this is why I really love the Shallontrage, our little, cozy corner of the internet, is because it is a fresh place. It is very hard to bring about change in a small town, a family, your sorority. Like people have an idea of you because it's convenient. It doesn't disrupt their risk machine. It's not meant to keep you small. Like people aren't, again, approaching you with this nefarious intent necessarily. That's almost worse because it's just so hardwired into us to expect certain things and this is who they are and blah, blah, blah. And like Jen isn't going to come back to school completely goth. She's not going to do that. And if she does, that's fucking weird. We're going to reject her. But I like the Shallontrage because nobody knows you at all. And you can start over. You can be like, I'm the CrossFit girl. And everyone's like, she's not the CrossFit girl. But you can start over there. And when I do my Shalligator trips, I find that that's what a lot of people say. They're like, it's been so refreshing to just come and just be whoever I want. And no one knows who I am back home. And all those things people assume about me, they don't exist here, So taking a bit from Kim, it's like if people don't tell you if you don't tell people what they want to hear, canceled. We get that. I also, though, want us to think about who we cancel in our lives when they aren't sticking to our script. I do it with guys. I am currently doing with a guy I'm seeing right now. There is a script. He is off of it. Like, oh, no. Sorry. Your line on that text was, oh my God, beautiful, happy Christmas, I love you so much, blah, blah, blah. Like I had a script. And if he deviates, if he starts improving, now it's difficult, and this is I think our life's work. It is very difficult to find that middle path, the hardest path, the path to enlightenment between a script and boundaries and standards. Like I want to have a loose script. I want to have extemporaneous notes for the people in my life. I need them to hit certain marks, but within those scenes, they can freestyle. They can get there however they want. I actually have experiences in actuality on my own reality show. I had a reality show. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Downtown Girls was on MTV. It was only on one season. It was so fun. But like people would always ask me, is it scripted? And I'm like, no. They would send us into a scene like with different sort of motivations, like, hey, why don't you ask Chloe, like, do you think maybe you want to marry your best guy friend? And I'm like, I don't think she does. They're like, oh, I don't know. I think she's been single for so long. Maybe this would be good to ask her. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to her about that. Okay. And however I got there was up to me, but that's where I should have ended up. right? And vice versa. The other girls in the show had like their motivations. And so it created like organized chaos in a way. So I have to remember that in taking that into my own relationships, that like, okay, maybe I need my character, the character of my boyfriend, to get to his motivation in this scene is make me feel better about a difficult day I had fighting with my friends. But maybe I can give him the room to express himself within that scene in his way and show love and support in his way without sticking to a line by line rigid script. And if he misses a mark, if he drops a line, he's fired from the production, right? Because isn't that what we want? You know, don't we want that? Yeah, we're all in a collaborative goal with our friends or our family maybe, or our relationships, but don't tell me exactly how I have to be, the role I have to play to have merit and value in your life. Don't tell me that. Like, don't box me in like that. Let me be an individual. Let me express myself and get there the way I want to get there and be who I need to be. And then if I fail to get there, that's a different conversation, okay? So I guess going back to Kim and the Balenciaga thing, I mean, I do think it's true that like literally whatever that family does, people just shit all over them. They are like the whipping post of the world. And I'm not saying we all know, oh, the Kardashians. Listen, if I had their closet, just one closet, you can be as mean to me as you want on the internet. If I can have their closet and whoever their professional organizer is, I'm in a big organization phase right now in my home. And I am just like so jealous of the people that they can employ to organize their houses. And I mean, just the label makers, give anything. You can cancel me as many times as you want if I have coordinating baskets for all of my pastas that I don't eat. They're decorative pastas. Anyway, I'm not saying we need to feel sorry for the Kardashians, but I mean, I get that they would feel, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. Like if she had come out swinging like, fuck Balenciaga. Like, look, there's a lot of relationships behind the scenes. And what would that say about her as a woman of integrity and loyalty to look at these people who she has been working with for a year, the designers and the publicists and the secretaries and the marketing people at Balenciaga, and be like, fuck you guys, because they made a mistake? I mean, it was a hell of a mistake. And I know there's a ton of theories that it wasn't a mistake and it's a whole thing. I get that. But what, I mean, you could trash her for dropping people who have like supported her. You know what I mean? There's two sides to that. And so I want us to, again, borrow a little bit of that and look at our lives and be like, okay, who am I canceling? Who is canceling me? How can we approach these things, these bad outcomes from a more collaborative standpoint and reach a middle path, you know? And Kim, unfortunately, doesn't have that luxury. She was trying to take the middle path, I think, with her statement of, I'm reevaluating my relationship with them. She wasn't going scorched earth and fuck Balenciaga and I'm burning him in a trash can like Brittany Aldean did. I have Balenciaga. I'm not setting it on fire. Like, I'm not. I don't know that I'm going to continue to buy from them, but I'm not going to burn things I already have. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not, why would I do? I'm not carrying it, but I'm not setting shit on fire. It's bad for the environment to do that. You can just give it to Goodwill. Anyway, she was trying to find the middle path and be like, I'm not all gang for this brand, but I'm like, not, I don't know what's going on. And people excoriated her for that. So she doesn't really have the luxury of the middle path all the time, you know? And I think especially, this is what's so fucked up about cancel culture on celebrities, is that you have to just be like, oh, just self-flagellation, lay down and die, lay down and take it, slobbering, obsequious, fawning, I'm sorry's. That's not in my nature, which is why I am uncancelable, you know? And I think you push back against things and people shut the fuck up. You know, I wonder what would have happened if she would have been like, you know what? It's a clothing brand. I had nothing to do with this campaign. I had nothing to do with it. I have a lot to do with wearing their clothes, and I walked in their show. You think they call me to be their creative director? No, dude. Does Target call you? You're head to toe Walmart, bitch. How many campaigns have you been involved in? Okay, then. Your Miss Pumpkin Spice Latte. Is Starbucks consulting you? There you go. They don't consult me either, dude. I wonder what would have happened. Would have been hilarious, actually. I love anyone who pushes back against canceling. Again, in our own lives, what would it look like? if you were, I guess, radically, I don't want to say honest, because there's a big difference in speaking without thinking and being honest, virtuously, respectably honest, right? Like blunt, hurtful opinions. Okay, cool, they're honest. You're not winning any points. You're not being brave. You're being a dick. There's a big difference. And it's our duty as human beings to find what that difference is, to find that line. But I wonder what it would look like in your life if people who tried to cancel you because you weren't sticking to a script for them or whatever, if you're like, no, Nikki, I am actually not going to pretend that I like your boyfriend. He is an alcoholic. He hurts your feelings. He wants to be a professional gamer on Twitch. And I said what I said. Sorry. Or if it's like, I don't think he likes you. Or if it's like, why are you ordering beignets when you have been complaining for the last 2 weeks about why you want to lose weight? What are you doing? What are you doing right now? What if we didn't back down? I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what we should do, but workshop just in your mind what that might look like, what the pushback would be. Do you think it's righteous pushback? Like, you know what? Nikki can date whoever she wants. And you can be like, hey, I don't like James. I don't like him at all. Can you say it in a more constructive way, still holding to your boundaries, but not like, fuck you, right? What if there's a soft cancel? What if it's like, I have a standard, I have an opinion, and I'm not going to back down from it. I love you, but I am retaining this opinion about this situation, about your behavior, about this guy, whatever it might be. And what if we could allow that in our lives? And what if we could not only just allow, what if we could encourage it? If we could encourage our friends, and say like, hey guys, here's my New Year's resolutions. I want to drop 20 pounds by March. And I want you guys to bitch me out if you see me doing things that are contrary to that. If you see the Outback Steakhouse takeaways in my trash bin, you can call me out. I'm not trying to make you my master, my keeper. But I am not going to fly off the handle if you're like, we don't need a second bottle of wine, remember? You're trying to get fit. What if you could allow more room for that? I don't know, just some things to think about, some things to put in our mind, because I want us to create a new year and a new reality for ourselves that lasts. What is it that like, what's the stat that resolutions are abandoned within something like 11 days? Those are for the pigeons, okay? Pigeons have a short attention span, not an eagle, not a predator. No. They can stick with things. That's why they're at the top of the food chain. So let the little pigeon folks abandon their dreams. Oh, the queso. We're up here. Not everyone can get to that altitude. They lose oxygen. It kills them. That's okay. Weed them out. But I want us to craft these resolutions, and not just resolutions, but true shifts, true lifestyle shifts that last. And so I want to warm you up for a challenge by telling you in closing one thing I do every year, in addition to actual resolutions, because I believe we need to make goals that are big and vague, like sort of existential mindset shifts. And I think we also need to get really like specific about other things. Like, I'm going to meal prep this many times, and I'm going to, go to a naturopath and get my health in order, whatever. I want you to think of a word, because I do this every year. I come up with a word for my new year. One year it was roots. I think it was like the second year I'd been in Montana. I wanted to put down roots, really embed in the community, not travel so much, like really make a life for myself here. One year, I think when I was married, it was create. I really wanted to like branch out, and I started my YouTube channel. Last year, my word was ruthless. Not just because I sell it on a necklace, but there was something in me, and it's like I could forecast what I needed before I even knew that I needed it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're really in touch with ourselves. I think that's what happens. Like, let the word find you. My word was ruthless. I cut a lot of people out this year, and not just people. I cut out my own bad behaviors, drinking, dairy, sugar. I've been off the rails this holiday, and I feel like absolute shit. But that's good data for me. Like, I feel like shit. Okay, we're gonna stick to this. I've fired managers. I fired companies. Like, And I go back to that ruthless, ruthless, ruthless. And I'm taking that energy into 2023. It's not a one and done. Like, I'm going back. But my word for 2023 is organize. I mean, like I told you, I'm in a big organization phase in my house. I want to get my life, my schedule organized. I want to organize a hierarchy of people in my life, as reptilian as that sounds. But like, you only have so much energy and you can only prioritize so many things at once. Am I hemorrhaging concern, care, money, time, empathy towards people who aren't giving it back? Are there poor returns on investment in my life? From my staff to my friends to the people I date. And I think I'm starting kind of from the outside in. I'm starting with like my pantry and my closet organizing, because when my surroundings are in order, I have the bandwidth to be like, okay, I'm gonna keep going down this path. Like, I'm slashing and burning. Let's go. We're putting labels on things. We're moving things out of these piles. Nope, we're clearing the way. Let's go. So I want you to think about what your word might be. And please, I encourage you to stick to one. And we can do a mid-year resolutions thing. But for the first, let's say, 3 months of this year, one word. Because remember, in our book Essentialism that we read, it was great, pick it up. Priorities, not a thing. Priority, singular. You can only focus on one thing at a time. So you can't have organize, create, stability, imagination, travel, one. 3 months, one word. Then you can refine. You're like, I've actually gotten a really good organizational system down. I've actually been ruthless and cut people out and gotten myself on a good routine, a good rhythm. I traveled a lot this winter, and you know what? I kind of want to stay home and chill for a while and sort of absorb, like, retroactively all these lessons I've learned from traveling. Okay? So maybe 3 months, one word. This is what we're going to do. And like I said, get a head start on all this stuff with a workshop my mindset coach, Laura St. John, is doing on New Year's Eve. I'm going to be on it. It's a little webinar on how to make a vision board that works. You know I love a vision board. Ironically, a vision board is part of the reason people canceled me. Losers. But I am so excited for this. Vision boards are so much fun. Get a bunch of old magazines, steal them from your dentist's office or whatever, and come and join us. It's going to be great. And go ahead and sign up right down there. I'll see you later, Shalligators.